All right, welcome everyone. This is the first talk of the day, Sunday. And today we have Rodrigo. And pretty much the talk title is Making Your First Contribution to Open Source with Quine. So he's going to give us a little bit introduction to what Quine is and how you can start making contributions to open source with it. I have a little bit of a description, but I don't know, Rodrigo probably wants to introduce himself. I'll just give a quick intro. So Rodrigo is the founder and CEO of Quine, which you'll learn about in a minute, but basically it's a stealth mode startup based in London with the aim of helping developers maximize their GDP, right? Yeah, so I think Rodrigo probably give a little bit more of an intro, but yeah, I think I'll just hand it over to Rodrigo to start his presentation.
Thank you, Maxine. That's very kind. So yeah, hello, I'm Rodrigo. I'm a founder and CEO of Quine. What we're doing at Quine essentially is working on the problem of experience quantification from code. So sort of like what we think is wrong currently in the software engineering space is two things essentially. Like one of them, it's sometimes very difficult to quantify or assess how experienced someone is from the code they're written. And secondly, and I guess this is like the scope of the call, we're living in a world in which it is becoming like very easy to learn new skills and sort of like learn new type of programming languages, frameworks, libraries, but it's becoming very difficult to stand out from the crowd, right? And this is probably something you will experience once you finish your degree. The amount of information currently online about any programming language or any technology is really vast. But what is becoming more and more difficult is for an individual developer to be able to say, I am different from everyone else because of this, or I am special because I have worked on this type of technologies, etc. So what we're essentially, one of the things we believe in very much is that open source is going to help developers differentiate themselves from one another. Over the last few decades, I would say like the validation model in software development has been changing. First, it was of course like university diplomas, right? Like again, a computer science degree was communicating a lot of differentiation skills. Like degrees were scarce 30, 40 years ago. Nowadays it's becoming a bit more of like coding boot camps type of, like if you do a specialization in React or UI UX, then you have the certificate that talks about your competencies in a very particular type of skill. And what we think is that in the next 10 years, what's going to become the differentiator for the software engineering space is open source, and it will be more important than ever for people to write and submit open source contributions to actually differentiate themselves from one another and stand out from each other, right? Like it's very different if you essentially apply for a job having, for example, one contribution in Bitcoin Core, right? Than having like the same, I would say, like a React app every other student has in their portfolio. So actually contributing to other people's projects, working in the open, collaborating with developers at a global level is something that will essentially say a lot about your current skills and your current capabilities, and much more than going through the standard, I would say, diploma validation model, or the standard way of like, oh, I'll build this web page, I build this dashboard, etc. So okay, so with that introduction, I then want to sort of like talk about a couple of products in particular that we're building. The first one is essentially codenamed Scout, which is a recommendation system for open source content. What Scout does essentially, and I will show you in a little bit, is it helps you find those repositories that you might be the best fit to contribute to, and the most and the most I would say, sorry, one second, let me just find out my screen. Can you see my screen there? Is it possible to make it? Okay, right. So let me introduce you guys to like this first product that we're launching, and this one is called Scout. What we're trying to do with Scout here is, I would say, increase relevance in, I would say, in open source recommendations. We think about open source as a creator economy that shares a lot of similarities with social media. There are creators, there, there are consumers. Each repository is content and has an audience, and in particular, it has an audience of contributors. What GitHub currently is very bad at doing is at really channeling the content that is relevant to you and that you might want to be engaged with, right? Because in open source, engagement is essentially a very special concept. Engagement is not only, I would say, being aware of the repo, but can be. There are several levels of engagement, which is being aware of the repo, trying out the repo, using the repo, and then finally contributing to the repo. So what GitHub does not optimize for is in kind of untapping this fourth level of engagement, which are the repos you might be most likely to contribute to if you were exposed to them. So a first thing we're actually doing here is changing the interface, like reimagining the interface in GitHub Explorer. I don't know if you have ever used GitHub Explorer, but it's essentially like the tool GitHub has to essentially like search for repositories, search for specific contributors, kind of like explore the open source space. What we're doing here is reimagining it and kind of like building a machine learning layer to this interface to sort of greatly increase the relevance of the content you can actually see in the open source space. So what you can see here is this is a personalized page of my Quine, my Scout page. It's a Netflix style type of page that essentially given a number of languages, and I can pick up to 4 languages. I will get the most relevant content based on these 4 languages, together with a list of issues I might be able to contribute to right away. How are these recommendations being computed? We essentially take take data from your GitHub account, like the repos you have started, or the contributions you have made, to kind of try to build an assessment of which topics you might be interested in. For example, in my GitHub profile, I am always starting repos in machine learning and cryptocurrencies. So you will see how in this top carousel, I will get a lot of repositories in Ethereum, Solidity, well, decentralized, P2P, encryption, etc. However, I will also be getting some repositories related to machine learning, or I should be getting at some point. What Scout did here is it essentially took the open source space and broke it down for me in 6 different categories. 1 carousel for each of my language of interest. One carousel where recommendations are just like highly relevant given my current interests, and 1 carousel that have like an unusually large number of good first issues that I could be contributing to, right? And this one is called repos to get you started. So if we go to repos to get you started, like we will see here that each repository, I mean, like if you click on it, you can just see a pop-up of the README. But if you go to the repo detail page, you will be able to see some basic statistics about this repository as a whole, like say like which languages it's been written in, what is the popularity trend of the repository, what are the core, I would say, topics of this repo. Something I want to highlight here is that what we've done with in Quine is to kind of like reorganize the content in open source. Currently, GitHub has 66,000 labels to kind of categorize each repository. What we did first is reducing them to 121, let's say, like core topics and core categories that can help the user let's say, get a bit more understanding of what this repo is about. And these labels here that you see here, DevOps, container orchestration, factorial containers learning, are automatically generated. With our machine learning models, what we do is we read it, we read the readme of the repo, we read the dependencies, we read the description, and based on this natural language information, we're able to sort of accurately categorize this repository. So what you can see, if you go to this page, what you will be able to see is, first of all, again, this graph that speaks about engagement, but secondly, a graph that speaks about how alive the repo is, right? If you want to contribute, you might not want to contribute to a repository that is dead or abandoned, right? So which is why we build this response time graph. But I mean, this graph is really unique in the space. No one else has it. And what this does is it takes every issue of the repository and every pull request, and it lets you visualize how long it takes for a particular issue or pull request to be merged, and also like what is the proportion of of issues and pull requests that are actually merged. You might want to see this information when assessing qualitatively whether a repository is the right fit for you. There are some repos that maybe have like a lot of PR submissions, but they only take like a handful, which speaks about like maybe like a higher degree of difficulty. And there are some that have a number of pull requests submitted, but they haven't merged any pull request in like, I don't know, the last past year or something, which speaks about the repo being abandoned, right? So before you invest time considering the repository, you might want to check out the stats of the repo. We're working on 4 more panels, 4 more statistics panels for repo page that will essentially help you get like a very comprehensive overview of what is your current fit with a repo, and something you might want to know essentially is what is the average experience level of a contributor, what is the likelihood of say like your PR being successful, given that maybe you have no pull requests so far or no contributions so far. We have to be open-minded here, that some maintainers are actually very keen to help new contributors. Some others prefer to give their attention to more experienced ones because like the project just has a lot of activity and they just don't want to invest time at a particular moment in time, like helping a new contributor, get through the learning curve. So these are things that you might be able to sort of like get or learn by actually looking at the contribute at the start history and response time page, right? If you go down these issue cards, you will see here that there are a number of issues that are pink, and these ones are issues that we identified as being like good first issues. And good first issues are essentially issues that the maintainers of the repo regard as a very good place to start, or are issues that we as Quine might actually think they might be a good way to starting the repo. So for example, documentation issues, very easy bug fixes, refactoring issues are most of the time issues that someone with no experience in the code base can tackle with enough time and dedication. So so yeah, like you will actually be able to sort of like have a look at the repos here. Maybe this repo interests you, but you don't know if you actually want to contribute. What you can do is you can save it. You can save for later, and then you can see all your saved repos in your saved repos page, and here essentially yeah, like you can always go back to it later if at the moment you're just exploring the space and thinking where to make another contribution. It might also be the case that that some of the recommendations in the Scout are not very relevant or not very accurate to you. What you can do is you can like them or dislike them. And once you do that, next time you refresh the page, you will get a completely new set. Well, like you will actually get a set of recommendations that will take this information into account, right? So this is very much like YouTube style type of ML, in which the model learns in continuous time to your feedback, and you know, like the more data you give it, the better it gets at recommending your repos that might be highly relevant. Now, suppose you actually want to participate right now in Hacktoberfest and you want to contribute to Hacktoberfest. we actually curated like a special list for Hacktoberfest participants, and you can actually just like go here in Explore. Um, we have this new interface called Explore, which in which what we're aiming to do here again is to supercharge the current interface we have with GitHub, like, you know, like just essentially like make it smarter and more aligned to finding repos you can contribute to, right? A lot of the maintainers already label repo. You know, like if a maintainer wants to participate in Hacktoberfest, they already label the repositories as Hacktoberfest. So what you can do here is, you know, like get a list of repositories that have the Hacktoberfest label. Suppose you're interested in Python, right? And you actually want to you know, you would maybe like to contribute to a repository that I don't know is in gaming, right? So you can just filter here the results by Hacktoberfest, gaming, programming language, and then you will see here a list of repos that fit this particular kind of like parameters. Suppose, however, that when looking at the Hacktoberfest level, you maybe saw a repository that is very unique, or that, you know, like you just really like. For example, let's say this one on Unleash, for example, right? So if this happens, where is Unleash? If we go to the Unleash page, you might see that Unleash is in TypeScript, and you want to gain experience in this particular area, which is DevOps and Slack, but you don't really know TypeScript. What you can do with Scout is you can just copy the URL of this repo. You can go to similar to, and then you can essentially find projects that are semantically similar to that repo, right? And that essentially might better fit your needs. So here, for example, we looked for repos that are similar to Unleash. And Unleash was on TypeScript. Maybe we only know Python, so we want to see if there's any repository that is written in Python, and we see here that actually indeed there are quite a number of repositories that are similar to Unleash but are written in Python. And you might want to explore this to sort of see whether there's one that that kind of like has a big number of good first issues for you to kind of contribute to, right? So yeah, so what else? Okay, so what I have shown you so far is essentially Scout, which as I said, it aims to solve the, well, not so, like, I guess it aims to make the interface between developers and maintainers and contributors a bit smoother through a radical change in UI and machine learning. However, one of the things that we think are the most relevant things for us to achieve is helping you guys stand out with respect to the crowd, right? And by standing out, I don't mean, let's say, that we're gonna be reading your code and saying like, I don't know, Maxim is the top developer in Python or anything, because developers don't really like to be ranked in this way. But what I want to be doing is we want to be able to tell what is, say, like for example, like Maxim very special at, right? Like we want to be able to compute specialness of a developer and be able to communicate to someone else what is it that you do that makes you like very special and differentiates you from everyone else. And this can, I mean, one of our longer term goals here is to say kill the software interview, or at least kill the technical interview. We think that if you have enough data in your open source profile, that shows you can write software that is actually used by many people or many computers. A lot of the software engineering interviews just become redundant, right? Like this is of course like a challenging problem to solve, but we're kind of like increasingly getting there by combining like data, machine learning, like innovative interfaces, etc. So suppose you already, I don't know, like contributed to some repos in Scout. You have some pull requests that they have immersed. What we want to be able to do here is we want to help you, like showcase this work and actually make your work in open source work for you. And the way that your work in open source will work for you is it will work for you in as long as it helps you secure better careers, like get stand out from a pool of candidates next time you're applying for a job. As long as it gives you the credibility to contribute to more ambitious repos, again, like Bitcoin Core, or I don't know, like the Linux kernel, etc. So yeah, like as long as that's the case, we want to be helping you do it. So what we did here is we created this page, which is called is a Quine profile, and at the moment it's very basic, which is why the product is still in closed beta, but I still want to show it to you. What it allows you to do here is well, of course, like first of all, like basics, like say a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're located. We added this feature in which you can pick some emojis that best represent you and kind of like give them a legend and put them in your profile. You can say if you're looking for a job or not, and you have some follow links that point to your other social media accounts. So for instance here, like if I scroll through this scan, it's like I'm here to connect with OSS creators. I love Mexican food, and I live in the metaverse, and you can just personalize it like in any way you want. Right now, like the feature that is kind of like ready, or like kind of already like deliver some value to you is this pull request and repo portfolio. So pull requests carry a lot of information about your open source contributions, right? Because pull requests do not only contain code, they also contain textual information that tells someone how you explain your work, how you convince an audience that your work is relevant, and how you communicate in written way, right? So we think pull requests are actually like very important pieces of information. Some of them maybe are not successful, but indeed show that you went through the trouble and work to create a pull request, wrap it wrap it up and submit it to a maintainer for review. Even if the community is not successful, like already submitting a pull request to like a famous repository, it speaks a lot about your ambitions. It speaks a lot about like who you want to become, and it speaks a lot about how you thought about the problem, because each pull request is a response to an issue, and every issue is a problem, and your pull request is your own personal solution to this particular problem. So it's definitely something that GitHub hasn't gotten right. Is to help its users really make use of their previous pull request work to sort of communicate, the position of a skill, or whatever you want to communicate. On GitHub, you can pin some repositories to your profile, but sometimes the repositories might not even be yours. The viewer gets no context or any type of information about like why you pin this particular repo. It might just be a fork of a more famous repo. It's just noisy. It just doesn't make any sense. So what we did here is, if you want to pin a repo to your profile, you can do so. And when you do so, you can also add a legend that tells the viewer why you're pinning this repo, right? Like why is this repo communicating something about you? So for example, like this repo is one of the repos I maintain, which is OpenPH. Here essentially I can add a legend that tells the viewer why I think OpenPH is interesting, right? This other repo like has, I mean, really like this repo Rodrigo Deep Danzig is a repo that no one ever cared about. However, I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting repo because when I created it, I was trying to explore an idea of maybe solving linear programs with graph neural networks. So I add a legend here, right? Like, can we use deep learning to solve linear programming problems? This repo explores that question, right? And by doing this, you know, like you can actually create repos that are contextful, that actually speak, you know, like say something about you rather than just like a random, you know, like a random bulk of code that is submitted to GitHub, and you can actually start like say getting back control of your developer identity with this type of profile. So what's coming next here? But it's not fully there yet, is this left-hand side is essentially what we're working on is on the problem of skills verification from code, right? So say you might have seen how in LinkedIn people can just say, oh, I know Python, I know Rust, I know Go. No one will ever actually know if that's true or not. We have to think that's a problem. So what we're working on here is, you know, if you actually say you know Rust, you know Swift, you know JavaScript or R, we will automatically pull in open source data that supports that statement for you automatically, right? So say if you were to click on Rust, you will actually see a list of commits, a list of pull requests of repositories that you were directly involved in to support the statement that you were actually, you know, you actually know Rust. So what we're working in this case is on the problem of skills verification. Kind of, you know, like we're kind of like adding a tick to the statement, like I know Rust, I know JavaScript, I know Python. And what's very cool is that we don't only stop at the languages level. Like what we're unlocking here is even verifying your skills in a particular topic. So we have this thing called the skill stream up here, in which I can just say I know gaming, and about gaming I know Minecraft, Unity, animation. In machine learning I know like these skills. On databases I know these others, and then you can have this like skill stream map that is organized by super topic. And again, like what we're going to be releasing towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, is a fully automated flow in which you can verify which skills you have with actual data, right? And what we think this can bring you is when you apply for a new job, you know, if the job involves knowledge of front-end skills, the interviewer might not be so interested in reviewing your front-end skills because he or she already saw you know, like evidence of the possession of that skill from a person's contributions. They might just want to review your backend skills or your cultural fit to the company, etc. Right? So yeah, like the profile is still early stage. However, we're already like accepting people, you know, in the beta. We definitely want to build a profile that works for everyone. And yeah, we're very open here to sort of get feedback from you guys, you know, to sort of like see how you're using a Scout, how you're using the profiles. And our goal here, of course, is to build a profile that is first of all delightful and that can actually provide you like some utility from the current status quo, which is LinkedIn, GitHub, Stack Overflow, etc. Right? Like what we're trying to solve here is the problem of skills verification and the problem of actually making open source contributions work for you and bringing you like better opportunities in the labor markets. I want to stop this here. I still want to do a demo on how to submit a pull request, but happy to answer any questions you might have up until this point. If there are any questions from anyone in the audience, I don't know. So Scout is currently scout.quant, I don't know how to go back to the chat. Let me see. 1 second. So you can go to scout.quant.sh and use the code Hacktoberfest 2021 to get access to the beta. And yeah, that's that. You know, like then of course, you just need to like start exploring the product, start seeing what it can give you. You know, like creating open source is, I would say, is a big time and effort investment, right? But and essentially, you know, like the trick of, I would say, making a good contribution is first finding a project that you deeply care about, right? Or you know, like finding a problem that you really want to solve, at least for like the technical curiosity of solving the problem. You know, like one thing I want to say is that what Scout doesn't do is just like making the process of creating the contribution like shorter, right? Like what it does is it connects you to the right content so that you can create a contribution. But still creating a contribution is a lot of work. However, that work with who am I, what we want is that we want that work to actually like create value to you as well, not only the repository, the maintainer, but to actually like help you in your career. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys use TikTok, but you know, like creating a TikTok is also a lot of work. However people do it because of the popularity, right? Like creating content in open source is not easier than creating a TikTok, right? Like it involves hours of, you know, like getting to know the repository, getting to know the community, trying out what you want to do, like reading the issue. However, every time you do it, you become like a massively better software developer than you were before, right? Like and we're living in a world in which validation is public, right? Like and again, like it's decentralized and it's public. It's no longer an institution that says like you know a skill, you need to show it, and you need to work in the open. So so yeah, like the first step into actually doing that is finding those repos you care about, finding those topics you want to be learning about, and finding the communities you want to work with. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just show you. Let me just show you very quickly how we can actually create a pull request to repository. To do this, I actually created a fake repository that we're going to be using. Is essentially called Quine BB-8 Star Wars bots, which is just a README with a list of bots from Star Wars, right? So let's suppose, or let's assume we want to be contributing to the repository. How do I always have a lot of issues getting around with Zoom. I don't understand it. 1 second. Let me just see how can I share my full screen. So this is the repository we want to be contributing to. We maybe want to, you know, to like contribute to the list of Star Wars bots or droids that this repository has, right? So the process is quite streamlined, and you know, like you can always like I mean, contributing to open source is such a well-known thing that you could also just Google it. But I'm gonna just create a demo here. First step, I guess, if you want to be like very structured in the process and do it from first principles, is you go to the repo you want to contribute to. In this case, it's Quine BB-8 Star Wars bots. Then essentially you go to this fork button, and then you click on fork, and you wanna click it, you wanna fork it on your personal profile, right? So now what we did here is we created a fork that, you know, now it lives under root RGO Star Wars bots, but it has been forked from Quine BB-8 Star Wars bots, right? and this actually contains is a copy of all the code of the branches, all the commits of the repository that that you just forked. What we're going to be doing now is I don't know how familiar you are with the command line, but you want to be cloning the repo. So here you can click on code. You can just copy the URL of the repo, and then I'm going to create a folder. Actually, I have a folder here called example. I'm going to clone it under my folder called example by using like git clone, and then I clone Star Wars bots, right? Now, once the repo is cloned, we can see here with the list that the repo is there. We can just cd to the repo, and we can create a new branch. And if you have used before Git, you know that the shortcut to create a new branch is Git checkout. So checkout is to change branches, and then -b is to change branches to a new branch. And here we can say add, we can call it add new bot, right? So we just create a new branch, add new bot. We can verify this by doing git branch -a. It's showing all the branches. We have main, we have add new bot, we have origin, and we have head, right? What we want to be doing here is we want to link this repository we created in our local machine to the original repository. So we want to be adding a remote. So we want to add an upstream, and we want to add it on the address of Quine BB8. So let's go to this address, and this is the URL of the original upstream repository, right? And then we can see here with the git remote command how now we have two remotes. One is origin, and then one is upstream, right? Like the origin points to your forked version of the repo. The upstream points to the original version of the repo. So yeah. So now we're in this branch again. Git branch -a. We want to be adding a line to the README. Maybe we want to add. Oh, actually, you cannot see it, right? Maybe we want to add which Star Wars droid do you like? R2D2. I want to add C3PO. We will add two of them. There are many more, but for the time being, we just want to add these two. We have one file change README, right? We can git diff it, and then we can see that there's two additions to this file, right? And now what we want to be doing is we want to be committing this README, right? So let's do git commit, and here we can do like add new add two new bots, right? Oops. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. First we need to add the file, and then we commit, right? Oh, cannot run GPG. Oh, actually, let's see. This is normal, right? And once we do this, we see that we have now one commit, and we can essentially git push it to our branch, which was called how was it called? Add new bot. So we have pushed it, right? And then here it now tells us create a pull request for new add bot on GitHub by visiting this address, right? So we can now go to GitHub. We can go back to this, and here essentially we now see that admin bot has recently just less than a minute ago. We can click compare and pull request, right? And then we can create a pull request for this connected to the repository, right? And here we can see that the pull request is living in Quine BB8 Star Wars bots, and now it's up to the maintainer of this repo to review our pull request and actually merge it. This flow is actually quite common. And I mean, I think the only way you can get it right is if you essentially like go through it step by step. I recommend you just Google create a pull request open source. There's like many resources online. You can just go through the steps in your local machine, try to create a dummy repo if you want, and then there's no better way to learn this than to get your hands dirty and doing it many times. And of course, getting a bit of exposure to the command line, to the Git command line tool. And yeah, I reckon you guys are in your first, second year of computer science degree. So I don't know if you have had a lot of exposure to the command line, but I definitely recommend you to use Vim, use the command line. Get your hands dirty. You can even start by contributing to each other's repositories. I don't know, like maybe Cassie can create a repository, and then you guys can add essentially contributions to Cassie's repo. And yeah, there's really no better way to learn how to create a pull request than to creating pull requests. So that's essentially what I want to say. Any questions from anyone? Very happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I think this demo is pretty helpful. It's nice to see someone who obviously does this a lot go through the process, so we can kind of see like, yeah, this is kind of how it goes, and even some cool things like the diff command. I think those are pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, overall, thank you for this talk. I think Quine looks like a very Quine is the company. Scout looks like interesting product, which I think could be very helpful for us. And yeah, I think I liked everything you said. Is very interesting about the having kind of a social media / credibility. I mean, not skill verification and all that good stuff with Scout. I think this is very interesting. In general, it's very interesting. And yeah, I just want to thank you again for taking this time out your Sunday for coming and giving us this talk. I'm sure it'll be very useful to a lot of our members. Yeah.
I really hope so. Feel free to feel free to reach out to us by email or even social media, like our Twitter is Quine Sage. So we will be posting updates in our Twitter account. Again, like we're still sort of like a bit stealthy, but we're opening up a bit more every week. So we definitely want to keep you guys up to date. And yeah, like please, if you have any questions or any feedback, just drop it in the. Yeah, I mean that is something I want to say. If you have any feedback on Scout, you can just log in. And there's this bubble here that is a Discord. Essentially, it's a Discord bot. You can send a message. We'll read your message, and then we will essentially get back to you as soon as possible with any suggestions, feedback. If you would like to see something in the platform that is not there, or if you think something is not clear. This is also, I guess, a very good opportunity for you guys to actually take the role of a beta tester user. See really scrutinize the product, submit the feedback to the stakeholders, and see your feedback being implemented, right? So we're very keen to hear what you think. And yeah, thank you for the time. Was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.